So I've already said there what happens in the first stave of A Christmas Carol. But what happens in stave 2? Let's find out. How is it going, Revision Squad? It's me, Liam, aka Mr. Knight, aka DystopiaJunkie, and in this video I will be summarising the second stave from Charles Dickens's novella A Christmas Carol. I hope that this summary helps you to overcome Dickens's sometimes confusing prose and will help you to understand the novella better, because then you will be able to absolutely smash your exam. You know the drill by now. If this video helps you out, please do let me know by liking, commenting and subscribing. And if you really want to make the most out of watching this video, go and grab a pen and some paper so that you can make notes of the things I say as I go. Right, so the second stave begins with Scrooge waking up. He wakes up at midnight, which he deduces by listening to a nearby clock chime. But that's a bit odd because Scrooge knows that he went to bed at 2 AM or thereabouts. He starts to wonder if he actually slept all the way through Christmas Day, but he's not really sure. One thing is clear though. At the start of stave 2, time is being weird. Now Scrooge has trouble sleeping and stays awake all the way through to 1 AM, which is when the first spirit appears. Now this spirit has a really unusual appearance. It simultaneously looks young and old, strong and weak. In fact, its appearance is so indeterminate that sometimes it looks like it has extra limbs and sometimes it looks like it has none whatsoever. To add to this, a strong beacon of light seems to originate from its head, although this is partially hidden by a cap it wears up there. The spirit announces itself to be the ghost of Christmas past, but not just any old past, Scrooge's past. Now upon meeting this spirit, Scrooge has a very, very, very strong response. He wants to get rid of it. But before Scrooge can get rid of the spirit, it teleports him back in time. Now not only have they changed time, but they've changed location too, and they're somewhere rural now, which is apparently where Scrooge grew up. Now at the sight of his hometown, Scrooge is really happy. Now this is important as it is the first time we actually see Scrooge happy in the novella. He's not just totally, wholly miserable. He has human emotions and feelings. Who'd have guessed it? Now the spirit shows Scrooge his younger self at school. Now at school, it turns out that the younger Scrooge was all alone. He actually spends his time reading and getting lost in literature rather than spending time with other children his age. This might suggest that Scrooge was always inclined towards a more solitary lifestyle, but that he was not necessarily always this horrible person. The spirit then skips forwards in time a little bit more, and on this occasion we meet Fan, Scrooge's younger sister. Now Fan comes to collect Scrooge from his boarding school, and she says that their father has finally decided that Scrooge can come home, and also that their father's temperament has softened a bit recently. Makes me wonder, is Scrooge only a miserable man because his father was? We can only guess. It's also worth knowing that Scrooge, the older Scrooge that is, was really happy to see Fan. Now this might be caused in part by the fact that she is dead in the present day, and yeah, if you're wondering, Fan is indeed Fred's mum. After that quite cute, nice, touching scene, the spirit jumps through time and space again. Scrooge and it leave behind the school and the countryside and now find themselves in a city. When we're there, we see Scrooge as an apprentice and meet his master, who is called Mr. Fezziwig. Now Mr. Fezziwig, he's an absolute top bloke. He is incredibly kind. He throws a party not only for his employees, but invites the townsfolk too. And you know what? A jolly good time is had by all. Now the spirit, seeing this, it approves of this, calling it a small matter to make people happy, meaning that really to spread that joy and laughter and happiness, it's not all that difficult. Now this has Scrooge thinking, and he wishes for a moment that he could talk to Bob Cratchit, his clerk from earlier in the novella. The implication here is that Scrooge is starting to realise that he ought to be kinder and more generous to his employees, just as his first boss was to him. Right, the spirit then jumps through time again, this time to what we might call Scrooge's prime years, where he's meant to be at his peak as a human being. But when we get there, it's quite obvious that something has changed in Scrooge, and this change is definitely for the worse. He seems like a much more negative and unpleasant person now, much more similar to the old miserable man who we met at the start of the novella. Scrooge is not alone though. He is with a woman called Belle, who is actually his fiancée. We can see that something has clearly upset Belle, and in fact, she starts to tell Scrooge what that is. She says that Scrooge loves something more than her, and that their relationship is just not the same as it was before. But what is it that Scrooge loves more now? Well, unsurprisingly, it's money. Now, after a relatively brief disagreement, shall we call it, Belle breaks up with Scrooge. Now, as if that wasn't painful enough to Scrooge to relive, the spirit then takes him to see Belle's family home. And Scrooge sees that she has a big, happy, and very loud family. The spirit is quite literally showing Scrooge what he could have had. And to make things worse, Scrooge even overhears Belle's husband saying that he saw Scrooge recently, and that Scrooge was looking very, very lonely. Now this entire scene distresses Scrooge quite a bit. He demands that the spirit takes him away from this vision, and in a fit of rage, he sort of kills the spirit. He grabs its cap and pulls it over the spirit's head so that the light it produces is smothered. The cap is pulled further down, stretching to the very bottom of the spirit's body, and Scrooge squeezes and squeezes and squeezes, but is still unable to completely get rid of the light that the spirit produces. This, I think, is quite a clear indication that Scrooge cannot hide from the past. Now this tussle leaves Scrooge exhausted, and so afterwards he promptly returns to bed. And that's where Stave 2 ends. So there you go, that is that second stave summarised. I do hope that you found this video to be informative and useful, and that it has given you a little bit more confidence when it comes to tackling this text. Please do like, comment and subscribe if you've made it this far, and remember that I hope that you have an awesome rest of the day. If you are revising, please do take frequent short breaks, as a burned out student is not a happy or successful student, which is what I think you deserve to be. So what does happen in Stave 2 of A Christmas Carol? Well, Scrooge meets the ghost of Christmas past, who, funnily enough, shows him his past. In seeing that, we see that Scrooge was not always this miserable old man. He was, once upon a time, able to show love and affection and warmth and just general positivity. As readers, this might give us a slight bit of hope that Scrooge can be redeemed. If he could be nice before, maybe he can change his ways again and return to that niceness in the future.